My parents did not allow me to marry a girl because my sister is not married yet. My name is Orson, and I'm 32 years old. I work in cybersecurity consulting, not the most glamorous job, but it pays the bills and keeps life comfortable. I've been with my girlfriend, now fiancée, Winifred, for about 3 years. She's 31, owns her own legal consulting firm, and is one of the most driven and sharp individuals I know. She doesn't tolerate nonsense, which might be why my parents have always had a hard time accepting her. For the past year, I've been contemplating proposing to Winifred. We're not the extravagant type, we appreciate the simple things. I thought her birthday would be the perfect occasion, intimate and meaningful. I recall the conversation from my youth when my grandmother, my father's mother, told me that when I found someone I wanted to marry, I could have one of her rings. That memory stuck with me. She was a woman of her word, always intentional with her promises. After her passing a few years ago, all her jewelry went to my mother, Myrtle. Myrtle and I have never been particularly close. She's the kind of person who plays favorites, and since 1994, that favorite has been my younger sister, Dorothea, now 30. Growing up, it felt like I was always second best. If Dorothea wanted something, she got it. If I wanted something, I had to prove I deserved it and still might be told to wait. Dorothea crashed her first car at 20, a brand new one replaced it within a month. I received a used sedan without working AC until I was 24 and had to pay half of it myself. I maintained good grades, held part-time jobs, and never asked for much. Dorothea, on the other hand, dropped out of college twice and then went soul-searching in Bali for 6 weeks with money my parents claimed they didn't have to help me with a certification exam. So, yes, there's some built-up resentment. I went to my parents' house and asked Myrtle if I could look at Grandma's rings. I told her I was planning to propose to Winifred and that it would mean a lot to use something from the family. She stared at me for a moment and said, "Now's not the right time." I thought she hadn't heard me, so I repeated myself. She cut me off and said, "Dorothea isn't engaged yet. It would be unfair to propose before she gets a chance." I was stunned. My father, Gerald, chimed in, saying, "She's been having a hard time being single, Orson. You should be more considerate." I pointed out that she wasn't even dating anyone. Myrtle responded, "That's not true. She's seeing someone, she just hasn't introduced him to the family yet." Right, because people in happy, stable relationships always keep them secret while throwing tantrums about others getting engaged. I asked again, "So because Dorothea is maybe seeing someone no one's met, I'm supposed to hold off on proposing to the woman I've been with for years?" Myrtle said, "It's about fairness. It's not right for you to jump ahead. Like we're waiting in line at the DMV or something." I told them I wasn't asking for permission, I was informing them out of respect, especially since Grandma had told me directly. I even said I'd take one of the simpler rings, nothing extravagant, just something meaningful. Myrtle shut that down too. "We're not comfortable with this," she said. I left after that. No yelling, no drama. I just stood up, told them they made their choice, and walked out. The next morning, I went to a local jeweler that Winifred and I had passed by a few months ago. I picked out a ring I knew she'd love, nothing over the top, but classy and personal. The woman behind the counter helped me design it a bit, and honestly, I'm glad I went that route. It was never about the money, I could afford a ring. I just thought it would be special to include something from my grandmother. But apparently, everything in our family has to revolve around Dorothea's mood swings. I didn't tell Winifred about the ring situation right away. I didn't want to bring drama into what was supposed to be a happy time. I figured we'd deal with whatever came later. I spent the rest of the week setting things up for her birthday, nothing elaborate, just her favorite breakfast, her favorite playlist, and our dog in a little Say Yes Mom bandana. I was nervous, sure, but I knew what I wanted. No matter what my parents thought, I wasn't going to wait for Dorothea to magically find a fiancé so I could get on with my life. Winifred's birthday arrived on a mild spring morning. I woke up early and made breakfast, French toast, mixed berries, her favorite dark roast coffee. Our golden retriever, Linus, sat in the corner watching everything with that alert, knowing look dogs seem to have when something important is about to happen. I had the ring box tucked into the pocket of my cardigan, and I could barely stop smiling the whole time. I waited until we were seated, halfway through the meal, then gently slid the small box across the table. No speech. No kneeling. Just the two of us, quietly sharing a moment. "Will you marry me?" I asked, almost afraid my voice would tremble. She looked at me, then the box, then back at me again. And with a calm, steady voice that somehow said everything, she smiled and replied, "Of course I will." We sat there laughing, beaming like kids, planning our future right there at the table. She started talking about spring weddings, how nice it would be to marry on our anniversary 6 months out. We weren't the type to drag things out unnecessarily. When something felt right, we acted. This was no different. She FaceTimed her mother immediately after breakfast. Her mother actually screamed. Her father, when we visited later that day, shook my hand with such intensity one half joked he dislocated a knuckle. Her family welcomed me with open arms, all joy and celebration. There was no jealousy, no bitterness, no carefully worded statements to redirect the attention. Just happiness. It nearly made me emotional. And it only made what happened next harder to stomach. That evening, I called my parents. I felt they at least deserved to hear it from me. Myrtle picked up. Her voice was already laced with suspicion, like she knew what I was about to say and was preparing to dislike it. I proposed to Winifred today, I said. She said yes. There was a long pause. Then Myrtle said, well, that's disappointing. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it, it was so absurd. What, you couldn't wait, she asked. After everything we talked about? Gerald jumped in. You knew your sister was struggling. You knew she was serious about this guy. This is just selfish, Orson. Selfish? I said. For proposing to someone I've loved for years, because Dorothea is maybe seeing someone no one has met? They kept going, trying to lay a guilt trip. Myrtle said Dorothea would feel humiliated, like I was doing this to hurt her. I responded, calmly but firmly, if she's humiliated by my happiness, that's not my problem. I ended the call. It was the first time I'd said something that direct to them in years. When I told Winifred, she just listened quietly. No dramatic reaction, no judgment. Just that quiet strength she always carried. Then she asked, do you want them at the wedding? I didn't answer immediately. I thought about the stress, the drama, the way they made everything about Dorothea. Then I said, I want a wedding where we feel free to celebrate. She nodded. Then there's your answer. The next morning, we removed them from the guest list. No announcement. No confrontation. Just a quiet, necessary change. And for about 48 hours, it felt like peace. Then came the knock on the door. It was a Tuesday night. We had just finished dinner and were cleaning up. I checked the peephole. There they were, Myrtle, Gerald, and Dorothea, all dressed like they were going to a community board meeting, not crashing their estranged son's evening. I opened the door but didn't invite them in. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. You're seriously doing this? Myrtle asked. Cutting us out of your wedding? Yes, I replied, without hesitation. Gerald stepped forward, trying to be the reasonable one. Orson, we've had disagreements before, but this is extreme. You're getting married, not moving to another country. No, I said, I'm marrying someone you've spent a year criticizing, judging, and undermining. And now that you're not invited, suddenly it matters to you? Dorothea stood back, silent but smug. She didn't expect me to hold my ground. Then came the emotional manipulation. Myrtle gave the classic, we're your family, we've always been there speech. But it didn't move me. I said, you haven't always been there. You've been there for Dorothea. For me, you've been, politely indifferent. That struck a nerve. Myrtle started in with the justifications. She's had a hard year. You don't understand. I do understand, I said. I've had a hard life being the one who didn't matter. Being the fallback, the safe one, the one who didn't cause chaos and therefore didn't need attention. You made me feel invisible and I still showed up. Until now. Gerald tried once more to mediate. You could have at least told us. I did, I said. I told you when you dismissed my proposal. I told you when you made everything about Dorothea. You just weren't listening. Then Dorothea finally spoke. You're acting like a victim. All because we didn't throw a parade. No, I said. I'm acting like someone who finally realized he doesn't have to beg to be seen. Myrtle folded her arms. You'll regret this one day. I already regret how long it took me to stop trying. And with that, I told them good night and closed the door. 2 days passed. Winifred and I went back to planning. Guest lists, venue visits, music playlists. It was supposed to be the season of joy, and we leaned into that as best we could. Her family continued to show up with kindness and support, her sister offered to help with logistics, her father arranged catering leads, and her mother even offered us her backyard for the ceremony. It wasn't just about the space, it was about the warmth. Every conversation with her family felt like someone placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder and saying, "We're here, and we see you." Then, it started again. Dorothea posted a photo on social media, her hand clasping another's across a candlelit table. The caption read simply, "My person." There was no tag, no name, no context. Just a vague photo with what looked like a cropped Pinterest image of a man's arm. Still, Myrtle shared the post with a caption that read, "So proud of our girl and the amazing man in her life." I stared at it, not even angry. It was theater at this point. A soft launch of a fictional romance, curated for family applause. Why does your sister announce a date like she's releasing a perfume line? Winifred muttered, deadpan. It might have ended there, except the next move was deliberate and loud. We were at brunch with Winifred's family when her younger cousin scrolled through Facebook and tilted her phone toward me. Orson, have you seen this?" It was a baby shower invitation. A graphic, soft pastels, balloons, confetti font. Celebrating Dorothea and the arrival of her little one. Join us in welcoming our soon-to-be mama. The date? The exact weekend of our wedding. At first, I was certain it was a mistake. Maybe someone accidentally input the wrong date. But then I read the comments. So excited. She's going to be a wonderful mother. Finally, some joy after a rough year. No mention of our wedding. No, oops. Conflict. Just a total overwrite. Like our lives didn't exist. Like they had picked up the remote and changed the channel mid-scene. They hired decorators. A balloon arch company. Diaper cake designs from Pinterest. It was absurd in scale, and yet no one in our family circle seemed to question the timing or ask for proof. No bump photo, no doctor updates, not even a sonogram shared. I sent a screenshot to Gerald. No response. An hour later, another message, "You're throwing a baby shower on my wedding weekend?" Still nothing. Winifred didn't get upset. She simply laughed. The dry kind of laugh she reserves for truly ridiculous moments. "Let them have their party," she said. "We'll have our wedding." One of these events actually happened. Some of our mutual friends started getting baby shower invites from Myrtle. Yes, even those who had already RSVP'd to our wedding. One friend texted me, "Am I missing something here? Is this a prank?" Nope. Just the usual Dorothea special, complete with unsolicited attention and unquestioned support. Her registry was soon posted. $350 strollers. Designer diaper bags. Custom-made nursery signs with a baby name no one had heard her mention. Everyone contributed like this was a televised event. No one blinked. But I stayed silent. I didn't confront her. I didn't message my parents. I just watched the storm roll in and focused on protecting what mattered. 1 week before the wedding, Winifred's father pulled me aside. "You know this is about you, right?" he said quietly. "They're not celebrating her, they're trying to erase you." I smiled. Let them try. Then, a final text from Gerald. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. You could have handled this differently." I stared at it, then locked my phone. I didn't respond. Not out of anger, out of understanding. They'd shown me what they valued. And I had finally stopped trying to change their minds. April arrived with crisp air and streaks of sunlight glinting through spring branches. Our wedding day unfolded like the kind of morning you don't realize you've been craving until you're standing in the middle of it, completely still. We held the ceremony in Winifred's uncle's backyard. But to call it a backyard doesn't do it justice. It was manicured, adorned with soft lights, a garden in bloom. It looked better than most of the professional venues we toured. Her family transformed it into something magical. As I stood near the altar, the music shifted, and then I saw her. Winifred walked down the aisle in a dress I hadn't seen before that moment. Simple, elegant, stunning. My breath hitched, not in a performative way, but like my body genuinely forgot how to function for a second. Her father held her arm, fighting tears, and I realized I was doing the same. The ceremony wasn't long. We exchanged honest vows. No florid language, no movie lines, just promises. "I'll show up for you. We're a team. I choose you." Then came the words, "You may kiss the bride." And someone, Leo, cheered from the back. Yes, Leo. My cousin. The only one from my side of the family who came. We weren't close as kids, but in the middle of all the chaos, he had messaged me simply, "If you're doing what makes you happy, I'll be there." That's all I needed to hear. After the ceremony, the celebration unfolded like a shared exhale. We served real food. People went back for seconds. No tiny hors d'oeuvres with names no one could pronounce. Just good, warm, honest meals. Winifred's uncle gave a toast that made everyone laugh. Her mother danced like she was reliving the 80s. Her best friend caught the bouquet with such force, her boyfriend nearly fled the patio. I didn't miss my parents. Not once. Not even when the sun started to dip, and the fairy lights flicked on around us. As twilight settled, Winifred and I slipped away from the crowd. We stood on the edge of the patio, gazing out over the distant hills. She held my hand and asked softly, "Do you feel like anything's missing?" I turned to her, took in her eyes, her strength, the life we were starting. "No," I said. "Not anymore." That night, we stayed in a quiet inn nearby. Not a luxury hotel, just a cozy place where no one knew our names. We slept in. Ordered breakfast in bed. Talked about nothing and everything. Laughed. I don't think I even touched my phone. Then we drove to a cabin near the mountains for a week. No emails. No social media. No updates. Just us. It was during those days, long hikes, slow mornings, no deadlines, that I finally understood what it meant to feel free. Not just free from obligation, but from the ache of trying to be seen by people who never wanted to look. For so long, I thought if I explained myself better, did more, waited longer, they'd come around. But that week told me everything I needed to know. Their silence wasn't passive. It was deliberate. They didn't forget the wedding. They chose to erase it. We came home recharged. Winifred returned to her firm with renewed focus. I dove into new consulting work, contracts that allowed me more flexibility, and finally, peace of mind. We even started talking about houses. Something modest with a real yard for Linus, maybe a garage I could turn into a workspace. Small dreams, but real ones. Then I checked my email one evening. Subject, "Hope you're well." From Myrtle. I stared at it. My chest didn't clench. My hands didn't shake. But my heart did ache, faintly, in that way you feel when a wound is finally scabbing over and someone threatens to scratch it open again. The email was short. She heard we got married. Wished things had been different. Hoped we could talk soon. That was it. No ownership. No apology. Just a vague nod toward things as though they hadn't staged a months-long blackout of our lives. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry. Because I was finished. I had started a new chapter. And for the first time, I wasn't writing anyone else's version of it. The weeks after the wedding felt like a season of healing. I buried myself in work I enjoyed. Winifred was thriving. Her firm had started attracting higher-profile clients. Word of mouth from past cases had traveled, and suddenly, she was being invited to roundtables, policy briefings, even local press events. She wore it all with her usual quiet resolve. Then, out of the blue, Leo called. His voice carried a restrained amusement. "You got a minute?" "Always," I said. "What's going on?" "I ran into Dorothea," he said, dragging out the pause. "At Brew Point Cafe. She was with a friend of mine. Small world." I waited. His tone was too casual. She didn't recognize me at first, but then she started talking. Loudly. She was bragging about how our parents owe her big time, and how she's got you right where she wants you. My brow furrowed. What does that mean? Leo cleared his throat. Apparently, she told my buddy that the whole pregnancy was fake. That there was no baby. No boyfriend. She made it all up to win the narrative, her words. I sat down slowly. She admitted it? I asked. Plain as day. She said it was a strategy. She thought faking something emotional would pull everyone back to her side after you humiliated her by getting married. I should have been shocked. I wasn't. Dorothea had always been dramatic. As a kid, she faked being sick at my birthday party. Our parents packed up the celebration and spent the rest of the afternoon tending to her imaginary fever. I remember watching my unopened presents being carried away like evidence of a crime. But this? This was a production. A lie that spanned months. That overshadowed a milestone in my life. And the guy in the photo? I asked. Leo laughed. She said she pulled it from Pinterest. Literally typed in romantic dinner handhold or something, cropped the photo, and wrote a caption. I couldn't help it, I laughed too. Not because it was funny, but because it was surreal. Like hearing someone say they photoshopped an entire identity. But Leo wasn't done. Nadine was there too, he added, more sober now. Your mom. She didn't say anything. But when Dorothea admitted it, she didn't look surprised. That stopped me cold. It meant they knew. Maybe not at first, but at some point, they realized the truth. And instead of stepping in, they leaned into the illusion. Because the lie still gave them something they wanted, a reason to push me out. It wasn't just Dorothea's manipulation anymore. It was theirs. Winifred walked in as I ended the call. She saw my face and simply said, "Bad news?" "Interesting news," I replied. Then I told her everything. When I finished, she didn't say much. Just sat there for a moment, her expression turning that cold kind of calm she wore when she saw injustice too absurd to argue with. "She's playing the long game," she said. "And your parents helped her cheat." And I knew what I had to do. The next day, I drove to my parents' house. No warning. No text. Just pulled up and knocked. Myrtle opened the door with a jolt. She looked surprised, then tense. "Where's Dorothea?" I asked. "She's not feeling well," Myrtle said, her eyes darting. "Yeah," I said. "I imagine faking a pregnancy is exhausting." She froze. Gerald appeared in the hallway behind her, face blank. "I know everything," I said. "The fake baby. The fake boyfriend. The shower. The lies. The way you all ignored my wedding like it didn't exist." They didn't deny it. I wasn't even angry. I was steady. Clear. I don't care that she lied. That's her story to unravel. What hurts is that you let it happen. That you watched her stage the circus and said nothing because the lie fit better than the truth. Myrtle tried to say she was hurting. I raised my hand. "Stop. She used you. And you were glad to be used, as long as it meant keeping me in my place." Still, no apology. I turned to leave, then looked over my shoulder. "Tell Dorothea not to contact Winifred again. And don't reach out to me unless it's to take responsibility. Until then, we're done." I left. Not with bitterness. But with peace. A week later, Dorothea texted me. No mention of anything. Just, "Hey Orson. Hope you and Winifred are great. Is she hiring? I'd love to work with her firm, think I'd be a great fit." I showed Winifred. She let out a small, dry laugh. "Do you want to respond, or should I?" "You go ahead." So she wrote. "Hi Dorothea. We're not hiring. We also prefer applicants who tell the truth. All the best." I laughed harder than I had in weeks. You'd think that would end it. But the next day, another message. "No worries. Let me know if something opens up. I really admire her work." Then, another email. This time from Myrtle. Subject, "Let's start fresh." A long message about how families go through seasons. How things had been tense. How Dorothea was trying to grow. How maybe Winifred could mentor her a little. Mentor. I didn't reply. I sent it to Leo instead, who responded. They must think Winifred's running a rehabilitation center for emotionally dishonest adults. And maybe that's what they wanted. Not a connection, just access. A chance to benefit from our lives now that they saw we were building something meaningful. Weeks passed. Winifred got invited to speak at a business panel downtown. We took a photo outside the venue, her in a sleek blazer, me standing beside her, smiling like a man who finally chose right. Dorothea liked the post. Winifred showed me. "Your sister's watching," she said. I shrugged. Let her. That's where I leave it. No dramatic final battle. No family reunion. Just silence. And freedom. They thought I'd crawl back. That I'd always need them more than they needed me. That if they ignored me long enough, I'd beg to be seen. Instead, I chose someone who saw me from the start. We're building a life that's ours. And they can stand outside the window, watching. But the door? It's locked. And I'm not changing the key. Thank you for watching the video, like it if you watched the video to the end and don't forget to subscribe. Have a nice day.